How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China, the channel where I platform my understandings of the War of Resistance in China against Japanese aggression from 1931 to 1945. So I do this mainly for toy soldier enthusiasts, wargamers, modelers, anybody who's got an interest in a bit of the obscure, because I generally cover subjects that only I cover. So today what you're looking at is a selection of my mainly scratch built ships that I use for the Japanese forces in my wargaming in China. And today I'm going to have a chat about Daihatsu landing craft. Now, I never know when I'm going to do videos, so if you don't want to miss a video, press subscribe. If you like what I do, press like. I'm always happy to hear any comments. Okay, so if you watch this channel for a while, I did a presentation on Japanese Sokotes, which is an armoured boat built for the Japanese army to be served from its to serve on its landing craft assault ship Shinshu Maru. But and if you watch that video, you would remember that I said that by the mid 20s, the Japanese army was probably thinking more about amphibious warfare than the Japanese Navy. The Japanese had watched, there were a fair few amphibious assaults in World War One, and the Japanese had been studying them, the Japanese army, and it decided, we should really be doing better than lowering ships' boats and rowing our troops ashore. So what they decided to do was introduce a type of boat, their first landing craft, which was called the Shohatsu. Now the Shohatsu was capable of 10 knots, carried 30 troops, and between 1927 and 1943 they built 1,000 of them. But they weren't quite happy with the Shohatsu design. Many of its features, like it had a spiral screw drive, and that was a feature that they'd stick with for all their landing craft because it really helps you in shallow, boggy water not to get anything cold in the propeller, because you've got a screw. The Japanese army liked the screw system, the screw drive, and the dimensions, it thought, well, we could do with a longer boat than that. So by 1930, the Daihatsu company started to produce the Daihatsu landing craft. Okay, now this was quite a revolutionary design. To the Western eye, this was a revolutionary design because it's a boat with a ramp on the front. Okay, I've got mine closed with wire, and this ramp system was new to the world. There are many anecdotes about the Higgins boat that quote that Higgins based the design of his Higgins boat off pictures that were supplied to him by Victor Krulak of the photos of the Japanese landings in 1932 at Changhua-Pang in Shanghai, and it said that this greatly influenced the Higgins boat, the design of the Higgins boat. Well, I'll be comparing this to Higgins boat later on. But first of all, I want to say about the design of the Daihatsu. This is a wargaming model. Its representation, its purpose basically is to be flat on the table. So when we want to understand the genius of this design, of the Daihatsu design, you're really going to have to rely on my communication skills, and they're not brilliant, so fingers crossed that I get this right. Okay, now the main difference between a Japanese landing craft with a ramp and a European landing craft with a ramp is that in a European landing craft, a Western or an American or British landing craft, like the Higgins boat here, the ramp is part of the bow. The ramp is part of the bow. However, in the Daihatsu, the ramps would begin at the top of the gunwales, of where the gunwales should really be. I don't know if that makes sense, but the hull, it's a steel hull, and it starts off as a regular steel hull, but as it moves forward, it becomes almost like a curved M shape, a curved W shape. But it's not a W-shaped boat. What it is it's a boat that ends with a double bow, and with the strength of having a double bow, it allowed the loading capabilities. So I mean, this is a wargaming model, and I couldn't quite figure out a way to do the double bow that appears to be here. But then again, no modeling company or wargaming company has. It's a very intricate design to the Western eye, but to the Japanese, this design, the Daihatsu design, incorporated many features of traditional Chinese fishing boats and cargo carriers, and so it didn't represent the technological challenge for the Japanese to invent the landing craft and ingenuity as it did for the Americans or the British, because it's what they were exposed to on the waterways. And although both designs, the Higgins boat is a revolutionary design, but so was the Daihatsu in its day. And the Higgins boat, they built nearly 23,500 of them, and in all, total production of Daihatsus would be well over 10,000. Now, as I said, the double bow at the front seems to be derived from the Shimehage type of fishing boat in use in northern Japan, and all the Japanese army, all the designers had to do was to build up the gunwales, so there were build the ramp to the gunwales, the original height of the gunwales, and then build gunwales around that. You know, that was how the alteration was, and the ramp itself would be always above the water. You know, the ramp itself would always be above the water. That's what happens when you scratch build. I obviously haven't glued that in properly. But, yes, so in a Japanese landing craft, the ramp would always be above the water, whereas the ramp is the bow in a Higgins boat. So, you know, there's fundamental design differences. I mean, the Higgins boat was 36 foot long, and Daihatsu's range from 59 feet to 47 feet in length, you know. And Higgins boat could carry 30 trips, or 3 tons of cargo. The Daihatsu A, which would be this type, would carry 70 trips, or a Type 89 tank, Type 89 Otsu tank. And I'll put the Higgins boat away. Sorry, I don't know if you could even see that. I wasn't looking at the camera. Yeah, so there you see the differences in design and shape. And as I said, this was totally new, but for Western boat designers, but not so the Daihatsu for traditional Japanese boat builders. Now I want to go through the differences of the boats. Now the original Daihatsu, as I said, could carry 70 men, a Type 89 tank or 12 tons of equipment, and it could do that at 7 knots. It had a steel hull, an armoured plate here to protect the coxswain, and a rounded bow. Now, it was not uncommon for weapons to be mounted on Daihatsu landing craft, and what weapons they were would depend on which service was using them. So in Army service we would find a 13.2mm Type 91 autocannon on the back, and in Navy service we might find the same cannon but obviously named a Type 93, or we might find a 25mm autocannon anti-aircraft gun, sometimes two. Sometimes they were armed up to have two 25mm machine autocannons and two medium machine guns, and they would reinforce the escort if it was on a convoy supply run. They were made throughout the war. Daihatsu, as I said, made well over 10,000 of all types. And the main difference is the first Daihatsu has got the steel hull. It's 48, nearly 49 feet long, right? And the design basically stays the same, but they just elongate it or they take the steel out. So if it's a Toku Daihatsu, that means the flooring here is reinforced and it can take a Chiha tank. And if it's a Mokosu, which was a later design, it's all wooden, so it can't take any tanks, and it can only take 70 troops, but they made many thousands of them. So as in service throughout the war, the Toku one that could carry the Chiha, they only made about 200 of them, and they weren't in service very long. They made about 200 in 1940, and as I said, they simplified the design to the Mokusei in 1942, and it didn't use any steel at all, totally timber boat, and they made many thousands of them. Okay, hope you found that interesting and informative. Press like if you did. See ya.